What's going on YouTube? Evan here with Cloud9 Aquariums. Today I'm going to talk about building a balanced community. By balanced community I mean I want my fish to interact nicely, I don't want them to be killing each other, and I want my tank to take care of itself. Now that's actually something that's really awesome, is that we can set up a really natural environment that really does take care of itself based on just picking the right fish. Some people think it's about the filters and about the plants and the lights and all that, doing just maintenance regularly. And sure, that's all contributing factors, but just building a balanced community starts by picking out the right fish. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. Today, the major thing I want to keep it down to is the interaction between your fish, keeping it interesting, and just be realistic with yourself. Don't tell yourself that you can keep an Oscar in a 10-gallon tank. It's not going to happen. Okay, so interaction. By interaction, what I mean is there's three main types of interactions you have between fish. You have your schooling fish, you have your aggressive fish, and you have your semi-aggressive. Now we could break some of these down a little bit more. Only one I'm going to break down really is schooling, because there's kind of two different kinds of schooling. People see them, when I mean schooling, I mean a fish that really likes to be in groups of 6 or more. If they're not in 6 or more, they kind of start to freak out, and they'll never really show a good color, and they'll kind of be hiding the whole time. They'll tend to die really soon. They might not live more than a year just because they're stressed out. That's not how their their natural environment. That's not how they live. But there's also a type of schooling fish, which is kind of like a more of a community schooling fish, where if they're with other, say you have some different types of tetras with other types, sometimes they'll do okay if they're in like a group of like 3 of the same variety. They'll still do better. You don't want to keep them by themselves. But you don't have to have a huge school of them. 3 is enough. That usually they'll kind of calm each other down. Like you'll see, for instance, for a hardcore schooling fish, my Serpe tetras. Okay, I have 6 of them. They love it. They always kind of stick together, and they like to. It just keeps them. They have nice color, and they're not stressed out. They're doing well. In terms of community fish, rainbows. I do have about 6 rainbows, but they're all different varieties. But again, that's one thing too, where rainbows, it doesn't mean you have to have 6 of one kind and 6 of the other kind. If they're all the same general species, that's one way you can kind of cheat with it. But you'll see, like my roseline sharks, those I actually have 3 of, because they are community fish and they do like to school around a little bit. And if I had just one, I don't think it would do very well. Now the other thing is, keep it interesting. When you're going to pick out your fish, you really got to think of, there's 3 different levels. Now I know today's all about 3s, okay? I got 3 different things, now I got 3 types, now I got 3 levels, okay? So I'm just trying to dumb it down. Hopefully this really helps you. So 3 levels, you got your top feeders, you got your middle swimmers, and you got your bottom feeders, okay? Now what I mean by that is, top feeders are the guys who kind of just tend to swim around the surface of your tank. They have no interest in what goes on in the rest of the tank. They're pretty much just top dwellers. Some people would say, I would say angelfish. Those are pretty much top swimmers. Yeah, you'll see them picking at the ground every once in a while and they get really bored, but they tend to be top swimmers. Same thing with rainbow fish. They're kind of more of a top. But they can also be classified as a middle swimmer. Serpe tetras are definitely middle swimmers. Now you'll see, by middle, that doesn't mean, okay, there's 3 different lines in your tank and the middle swimmers only stay in this line and the top swim. No, that's not how it works. You'll see them go all over the place. But you'll notice my Serpe tetras tend to stay between the middle and the lower parts of the tank at all times. And then bottom feeders, obviously, like my Cory cats, those are bottom feeders. Of course they'll go up to the surface when they're just, I don't know, being whatever, but they tend to stay at the bottom. Same thing with like plecos and stuff like that. They're all bottom feeders. They have downturned mouths. They get their nutrients and all that jazz from the ground. Now the reason you want to be concerned with 3 different levels is you want to keep your tank interesting. If you have all top feeders or all bottom feeders, the rest of your tank is going to be boring. I want to be able to look at my tank and I want to see stuff going on at the top of my tank, the middle of my tank, the bottom of my tank. Because in that way, also, if you have too many of one level, they're all going to be bumping into each other, and they're going to clash, and they're going to, territorial issues and stuff like that. So that's why you want to worry about that. It's good to have a very good variety. That keeps your tanks very well balanced, and it's pleasing to the eye when you're looking at it, too. Now that also goes on with interaction, because now I'm going to get more into this, was when you're talking about aggressive fish, you don't want to put the very aggressive cichlids in with some more docile schooling fish, because A, they're probably going to kill them, B, they're probably at least going to terrorize them, and then that will drive them into stress and kill them. Or C, they're just going to be so territorial that you're going to see they'll just chill one side of your tank, and then all the rest of your fish will be on the other side, and it doesn't look good to the eye. It's not. You want them to all interact very well. This all really comes down to making a plan. Like I say all the time, make a plan. Before you do anything, make a plan. Do the research. Those are the two most important things. I know it's really cool just to go in the fish store, you see the fish, like, oh, it looks awesome, boom, I'm getting one. Okay, great. Now you don't know the temperature that the fish likes, the pH, what it eats, how big it's actually going to get, if it's territorial, if it's aggressive, if it needs buddies. You don't know anything about it. So definitely, and this is the age of technology. You don't even have to go home to research it. Just stand there, look up the fish's name on your smartphone. I know all of you have one, and if you don't, I'm sorry. Ask someone next to you, I'm sure they have one too. But seriously, just type it in, look it up, read up on it. If you don't want to go home and do the research and spend the time, at the very least, research it online, on your phone or something or whatever, and just make sure you know what you're getting into before you get it. Because I know some people that are inexperienced, I've heard them at pet stores and look at the Oscars and like, oh, that's a cute little fish, because they're just little guys. Well, listen, I've seen some that are yay big, and you need a large tank for it, and they're going home, take it home to a 20-gallon tank and be surprised in a couple months. So make sure no surprises. That's what about keeping it relaxed and stress free is. No surprises. Do the research, make the plan. Going along with that too is, in terms of interaction and stuff too, when you're doing the research, you want to find out about habitat compatibility. Now, I just kind of listed those a couple seconds ago. Is the temperature the fish really likes to thrive in, the pH that it likes, and what it likes to eat. Okay, those are the three things you really want to be concerned with, because you don't want to get a cold water fish and mix it with a hot water fish. Now, by cold water and hot water, I'm not meaning like some fish don't like 30-degree water and some of them like boiling water. No, but there's a temperature and a pH that fish tend to thrive around. And the same thing is if they all have completely different diets, you don't want to have to buy 4 different kinds of food. Now, of course, we all want to keep our fish healthy and happy, and we want to give them a little varied diet. Okay, that doesn't mean I want to have to put in 4 different types of food every single day. That's complicated, and you don't need to do that. So, make sure that all fish you're getting are compatible together. If you really like a different kind of fish that's not really going to be compatible with something else, guess what? You're going to have multiple tank syndrome, because you're going to need to get 2 tanks. That's just how it works, okay? And that's why all of us fish enthusiasts get multiple tank syndrome, is because we're like, I really want this fish, but it doesn't go well with this one. New tank! Perfect, right? No, okay. Just let's start with 1 for now, okay, guys? But I promise you'll probably all get multiple tanks, and it just happens, and it's nothing wrong with it. We all do it. Just be aware it does happen, and have a cutoff point. Another thing you want to research is adult size, just like I was talking about with the Oscar thing. You want to make sure you know what the fish is going to look like, and what it's going to, because obviously you want to make sure you're going to like what it's going to look like when it's a bigger fish. It's your fish, you're spending money on it, and if you don't like how a fish looks when it's older, don't buy it. I don't really have anything wrong with how fish look when they get bigger, but at the same time, sometimes fish kind of look, they're not really like showy or anything like that when they're juveniles, and then you look at the adult picture of them, you're like, wow, they're gorgeous. So it's something you want to look at, and make sure you know what size it is when it's adult too, because if you don't have a big enough tank for it now, plan ahead. So again, be realistic with yourself when you're doing the research. If you see it's going to say it's going to get 5 inches, it's probably going to get 5 inches eventually. So make sure you know how big the fish is going to get and what it goes with. It's all about the plan though, people. So when you're making your tank and you're setting it up, once you have it all and you're doing the cycle, you got a couple weeks where you're just going to be sitting there, I want to get fish, and this is the time when you do the research, go to the pet stores every once in a while, see what you like, what's pleasing to the eye, and then go home, do the research, and see what's going to go together. That way you have the plan. Another thing you want to think about too is breeding. Are you going to want to breed your fish? If so, you're going to want to think about sexing them, if it's possible, first off, like angels, you really can't tell until they actually are breeding. But there's some fish like, betas and guppies that are really easy to breed. Well, not to breed. Betas aren't actually that easy, but to sex they're actually pretty simple. So that's one thing you're gonna have to think about too, is if you want to breed them, and then of course plan accordingly, because some fish do have hundreds of babies, and you want to make sure you have room for that if that did happen. And then also things to think about is if you're gonna get males and females, you want to make sure you have a good mix. When I try to get rainbows, I at least try to get one male, one female, or otherwise they don't really do too well if you get a bunch of males and one female. I mean, they're just going to harass the female like no tomorrow. So at least try to get, I usually like to do a one male to at least 2 or 3 females. But again, that's something you can find out on research online. Every fish has their own preferences where they do better. I find that some fish, like rainbows, tend to show more color when there's a male and a female in the tank. So that's another good reason to keep a female, even though some fish species don't really have the most pretty females. It'll make the male thrive, and they'll just do a lot better. So that's another thing you want to think about, obviously. But it's all about building a balanced community. Take your time, do your research, make sure you're getting all the levels. That's things to think about. I'm going to make a completely different video when it comes to picking them out at an actual store, what to look for, and which ones to get first, obviously. That's just a whole new video, and I don't want to bore you well, I'm not boring you, I hope, but I don't like making videos too long, so this is what I got for this video. I'm going to make another one now, or at least in the near future, and so stay tuned for that one, and then we'll get into how to transfer your fish into tanks and all that jazz. So I know you guys are really looking forward to me making plant videos and all that stuff, and I apologize. I've really been kind of down on it the last 2 weeks. It's just been work, and work. So hope you guys can forgive me for that, and I promise I'm coming out with a lot more videos because I got a lot to share with you. Hopefully my tricks have brought you and your tank a little closer to Cloud 9, and that's really just what I want for you guys too, is to enjoy the hobby just like I am. It doesn't need to be stressful, and as you can see, my fish are stoked. So, take it easy. Stay tuned for the next video. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave comments. I really do try to get back to you as soon as possible. I love to check out you guys' tanks. So, keep them coming, guys. Alright, well, we'll see you in the next video.